You're watching Twin Tiers Sunday with Jennifer Sheahen.
Welcome to Twin Tiers Sunday. I'm your host, Jennifer Sheahen. When you move to a new town, it can be very overwhelming. And when I moved to the area, I never expected I would experience some of the best moments of my life. Over the past 12 months, this community and its people have opened their hearts and their stories to me. Every Sunday on this program, I try to bring to life the amazing things happening right in your own backyard. This year is coming to an end now, and I want to share with you the top 10 moments you shared with me over the past year. Starting at number 10, well, it encompasses a major milestone for a city that is drenched in history and to this day is the heart of the Southern Tier. Happy 150th birthday, Almira.
Happy 150 years, Almira. The sesquicentennial for the city kicked off with a fundraising cocktail party at the Clements Center. The fundraising party helped the Almira Sesquicentennial Celebration Steering Committee meet expenses for festivities being planned throughout 2014. Remembering the past and gearing up for a great future, I have a feeling 2014 will be Almira's year.
It's not every day that you meet someone who leaves a mark on your heart. Don Fletcher from Wellsboro has made every man and woman serving overseas from our area feel at home, even as they serve in a war zone or cannot be home for the holidays. It is an absolute honor meeting this genuine soul.
The morning temperature outside the barracks in Iraq had already reached 100 degrees. Everywhere crumbling, barren earth looked like the surface of a sandy moon. Unrelenting desert sand fleas ate at the soldiers' skin as the men's fear and loneliness ate at their sense of life. Yet a group of soldiers in the barracks worked over a heartfelt project. They folded an American flag into a neat bulky triangle and bundled it carefully with a certificate of appreciation. One of the men, Specialist Kevin Smith, was going home, and he would deliver their gift of thanks. The flag was not for an injured soldier or a missed officer. It was for a tiny, energetic woman named Dawn Fletcher in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, who founded Goodies for Our Troops with residents of Wellsboro's Park Hill Manor in July of 2005. Goodies for Our Troops is a 100% volunteer grassroots effort with the goal of mailing an individually addressed box of goodies as frequently as possible, preferably monthly, to each local service person who has connections to anyone in the Twin Tiers and who is serving the United States overseas in a war zone.
The good Lord has looked down and really blessed this whole thing, and I really, like I said early on, I was so nervous about it, and oh my gosh, there won't be enough money, there won't be enough goodie, and I just said hey, you hit me with this idea and now it's yours, and just let me direct me what you want me to do. And just one thing I want to say, I think everybody that's been involved in this, we do what we do to show them how much we appreciate them. And I'll tell you what, when you get these emails and notes from them, you just get so choked up because they appreciate a granola bar, for heaven's sakes. I mean, how many of us would take the time to write a thank you for a granola bar?
No, that's true. I'm tearing up now with Dawn here. Dawn, thank you so much for coming on. It's such a pleasure. Everybody. Number 8. Let me tell you about number 8. Finding the location of this interview meant experiencing the most backroad place I've ever been. But it was so worth the drive through the utmost beautiful landscape of the Twin Tiers and the end of the long dirt road next to a bonfire. A world-renowned artist explained why he chooses to paint with one of the most complex methods of artistry, a craft that has his work sought by some of the biggest celebrities in the world. Take a look.
Well, the kind of art I do, and I've been doing this for about 40 years, is pointillistic paintings. And I started out in watercolors and acrylics, just creating paintings with nothing but dots, like Seurat or Pissarro or some of those other impressionists.
And I was just looking at the detail. It must take so long to create one piece of artwork.
Well, that's probably why I'm one of the few dedicated pointillists on the planet. There's very few painters out there who are dedicated pointillists like some of those famous impressionists were. And the reason I stay with it is because it's not exhausted its potential yet. In fact, I'm just scratching the surface.
I often find the same kind of feeling when you're doing your work, even, for Twin Tier Sunday or anything like that, is oftentimes people don't realize the beauty in front of them even when they're in kind of a bad situation. So that's nice that you have that vision going and traveling all over and bringing that back here and giving the opportunity to people here locally to see that and to acknowledge that as a beautiful thing. A stage is where theater comes to life. And what better place for viewers to understand that than center stage at the historic Clemens Center? If you haven't seen a show there just yet, just go take a tour. From vaudeville to Jersey Boys, this gem has it all.
The Clemens Center is a concert and theater venue in a town known for its very rich history. Today we show you some of the highlights of this theater, starting with the heart of the venue.
This is the third console for the Mara and Colton Theater organ that originated here in 1925. The organ has been lovingly restored and worked on by David and Lauren Peckham. It's been out of the building for about 8 years, and just this past spring came back to the building in this wonderful state. Not only does this make music through air, but it also makes piano sounds, bird calls, sirens, all of the things that you would need.
With over 1,600 seats and a revamped stage, the possibilities for the shows are endless.
And in this last renovation, we moved the back wall 15 feet to give us 40 feet of space, 5 feet of additional space, so that a performer going off one side can go behind the set and make an entrance from the other side. The rigging here is the magic. It's all counterweight system with cast iron weights to offset whatever is hung above us. In theater world, it's fly space. Things fly up, things fly down. And that counterweight system creates the opportunity for curtains to disappear, lights to disappear, and stage props, including during our production of the tour of Miss Saigon, we flew a Jeep. We flew a helicopter that went up out of sight from the audience up above us here, all from that counterweight system.
The rich history of the venue comes to life with every performance that graces its stage, becoming a vital part of the community's spirit and entertainment.
Why it was the most magnificent place between New York City and Buffalo?
In the 1920s, late 19-teens and 20s, there was an incredible burgeoning of performing arts centers across the country. It was the golden age of building movie palaces. Places that were bigger than life, that got you out of your sense of self and put you in the place of a spacious area like a king would sit in.
Rebuilding can be difficult. Rebuilding a fire department after trying times is even more of a challenge. For months, WENY covered the Owego Department's loss of Captain Matthew Picari and over 30 firefighters who chose to step away from the organization. When I stepped in the firehouse, the men and women there proved that any team can pull through if they believe and they have a lot of hard work. Number 6 encompasses a glimpse of good people down at the Owego Fire Department.
Tioga County Fire Control to Berkshire EMS. You're needed standby fire call 871 Chamberlain Road for a shed on fire next to a house. So we go. Fire monitors, one taker, needed assist Newark Valley Fire, working house fire 871 Chamberlain Road. Fire control clear 2254.
On a cold night in January of 2013, the Owego Fire Department responded to a house fire. And what happened on that night changed the course of the historic department forever.
Owego Fire Captain Matthew Picari was pronounced dead at the hospital after being pulled from a house fire in Newark Valley, where the floor collapsed underneath him.
He was a loss that created a deep divide in the department. A group of firefighters asked for a manual of a better standard of operations guidelines. A hope that with a quick passage by the village board, they'd feel more safe at work.
Now, in this new manual, there are clearer job descriptions as well as making the job more safe for the firefighters. Now, the Village of Owego Board of Trustees is yet to approve this new manual.
This caused a lot of anger and disappointment amongst my active firefighters. And a number of those active firefighters are threatening to stop running calls for their own safety.
The rulebook proposed by some of the firefighters was not approved by the Village of Owego trustees, causing 35 firefighters to resign.
Lisa Sherwood to Hose Company number 3.
Now, according to a State Department of Labor's investigation report foiled by the Press and Sun Bulletin, firefighters, including Picari, had been unnecessarily exposed to risk while performing an important but inherently dangerous community service. And nearly 2 years earlier, a medical evaluation determined Picari was unfit for interior firefighting duty, and the fire department failed to remove him from service in 2011, leaving one to ask, are stricter guidelines needed, or are those that are already in place just needed to be followed correctly?
Department is going to be safe and moving forward, and we have the people to have the appropriate classes to make sure that we maintain a safe atmosphere and an educated atmosphere to move forward.
And now, almost 6 months later, with the same rulebook in hand, the department is safer and stronger.
If they were that concerned about the results of Matt's death, I would have stayed and said, we're going to make sure that we go where we need to go. We got there anyhow, but we didn't turn and run. So, thanks.
On that note, I want to say one thing. The current, chiefs that we have kind of taken back to the old philosophy of, instead of ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. It's, they've substituted that word of not asking for what the community can do for us, but what we can do for our community. Because without our community, we have no purpose here.
It's not every day a former BBC producer emails you and says, let's team up. It's not every day a woman decides to trace her great-grandfather's footsteps through the United States. And it's even more unlikely those steps happen right here in the Southern Tier. Here's the catch though, this Brit did it all. At number 5, an inspiration to dig deep and find your roots.
A BBC television producer, editor of top-rating BBC One program, That's Life. A show with more than 20 million viewers a week.
Thank you and welcome to That's Life.
Briar Scudamore is a journalist at heart, and with a fast-track life, you naturally lose time to remember and learn your family's history.
Right, so I'm here on 2 missions. One is to appeal for your help to find out more about my great-grandfather.
Now retired and launching her own business to make sure others can tell their life story, she begins an expedition of her own, after a group of handwritten letters and a picture were given to her.
The reason I know that is Walter is because it was taken in Worcester, Massachusetts.
She now is following her great-grandfather's footsteps through America, one letter at a time.
A chap called Walter Mitchell, and at 23 years old, he came over in 1867 to seek his fortune.
And today she shares her journey right here in the Southern Tier.
Everything I've learned over my whole career has actually helped me set up a business at the first time at the age of 60. I mean, our life savings, everything has gone into this whole project. So yeah, it's very exciting.
When you fall down, get back up and work 10 times harder to achieve your goal. A message I keep with me on a daily basis. Dave Clark is a man who has lived this motto since he was a young boy. Here's a bit of a secret. At the end of our interview, when the cameras turned off, I turned to Dave and hugged him and cried like a baby. He was not only taught me, but hundreds of children in our area to persevere through any curveball life throws you. It was an honor to meet someone with a passion driving them and everyone around them to dream big and do.
What scares me is that I might have become the kind of person who doesn't take chances, who doesn't push the envelope, who doesn't ignore the odds. I might have become a different person altogether.
Dave was a young man with big dreams. Diagnosed with polio at a young age, he struggled with a physical disability. But his mental strength and passion for baseball carried him to the top. In 1971, he signed a pro contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates organization and played all over the globe. Till this day, he is involved with this nation's pastime. The Dave Clark Foundation is a nonprofit organization encouraging those with a disability to dream and do.
Good job!
Letting these dreamers play on professional baseball fields with big-time players.
You think you're doing the same workout and routine, but you don't do it with the same intensity.
Yeah.
And I had a good season in '75, and I let down a little bit in my workouts, just a tiny bit. And for me, that tiny bit was crucial because I didn't have a lot of talent. So I had to work hard at everything I had. And I didn't do it in that off season, and it showed the next year. And Mr. Veck, true to his word, called me up September 1st, called me on the phone. He didn't call me up to the bigs, and he said, Dave Clark, this time I didn't play around. I knew it was him. I said, yes, sir. And he said, you didn't live up to your end of the bargain. I said, you're absolutely right, I didn't. And he said, I'm sorry to say we're not bringing you up. He said, we will follow you in the future. I never heard from him again. So that was one chance where I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
It's kind of a magical thing that happens out on that field for one day for them. I guess one last word of advice for kids out there who are struggling to dream big. What would you tell them?
I would tell them to get a passion for whatever it is that you aspire for. Passion will will allow you to work hard and just get something, latch onto it and go for it. And
Number 3 on the countdown made me face one of my biggest fears, flying. The Experimental Aviation Association down in Big Flats took viewers over the hills and through the clouds. The Southern Tier is home to some of the best flying in the world, from gliding to small aircraft aviation. It's time to go up, up and away. All right, we're in very tight quarters, as you can see. We're about to take off. I think we're actually going to fly over the news station, so I'll make sure to show you that too. Very easy to start the airplane. Anything else you'd like to say to our viewers?
Come on out, take a flight with us. It's a lot of fun.
So here we go. I'll be explaining the flight to you. I'll be showing things to you throughout the trip. All right, so we're getting ready to take off right now. Right now we're taxiing out to the runway. Anything else we should know?
Here's some taxiway signs. It's kind of like the road map of the street signs for the airport. Much like the Ford Tri-Motor that you went up with us last year, this airplane is a tail dragger, meaning the little wheels in the back instead of in the front. So the first thing you'll notice as we accelerate, the tail of the airplane is going to come up, and your view out the front is a whole lot better.
How many times have you flown this airplane?
This airplane? Well, I've flown it, let's see, I'm looking at the Hobbs meter here. It tells it how much time it has on it. I've flown it about 70 hours. Number of times? I don't know. I'd have to look through my logbook. I usually fly about an hour each time, so approximately 70 flights.
Wow. And how many other people have you taken on this airplane?
Oh, geez. Several dozen at least. A lot of young eagles.
There you go. Now, you were telling me that there's a fox on the back of the airplane. What is that?
Oh, it's some custom artwork we had done to spruce up the airplane a little bit, kind of an homage to the World War II style pin-up nose art that the young pilots would put on their aircraft.
Here we go. We are departing.
All right, turn on our lights. We're clear for takeoff.
All right, we're clear for takeoff, so off we go.
It's built for off-field operations, so we get off the ground super fast.
We're starting our flight. Woo, the tail is up on the plane. You can see much more.
Although I was a little nervous at first, those feelings quickly subsided as the landscape of the Southern Tier became comforting, seeing the changing colors of fall in the never-ending rolling hills.
It's absolutely stunning. So right now we're about 1,000 feet above the valley, as you can see, or this is what Chris is telling me. Wow. up in the air. You can see so much. I know it's a little bit of a cloudy day, but it's still very, very nice. Christopher said that I am allowed to fly the airplane. I don't know if this is a good idea.
Well, we do need to introduce you to aviation. Let's see how you do.
All right, fine.
Seeing the WENY station from above was the highlight of the flight. Christopher also said because the doors of the plane can open freely and it was completely safe, the view with nothing between you and the sky is something you just can't beat. The takeoff was a bit different than the previous flight because WENY has a smoke system as an added piece of aircraft flair.
Well, the airplane, we fly quite a bit of stuff around my local airport. We have a bunch of guys with similar airplanes. We do a lot of formation flying. We have smoke systems so we can make kind of the air show looking smoke. It's kind of fun. As well as just generally we just like to go fly.
The organization hopes to encourage the future generations of our area to take up the spirit of aviation.
From the sky to the deep waters of Seneca Lake, my second most favorite moment was learning how to sail with Seneca Sailing Adventures. Captain Terry, his lovely right-hand woman Lisa, and of course their fluffy dog Anchor took us on a boat ride of a lifetime. Not only did we learn the ins and outs of how a sailboat worked, but we heard some pretty captivating stories from Captain as well. Sails up.
It's a 38-foot Cabarico pilot house sailboat. Cabarico is the name of the boat company that built it. They made 208 38-foot sailboats. Only 7 of them were pilot house sailboats like this, so it's kind of a unique boat.
Great explorers have traveled by sailboat for centuries, and with the invention of the motor, I find many people asking why. Why a sailboat when you can zip through the water on a motorized boat?
I always would like to go sailing because I think it's a different experience because we did a lot of like jet ski, kayaking, sailing like you said, the captain said. Yeah. It's like a journey.
Today we set out on our own journey, exploring a lake that in spots is deeper than 600 feet. Captain Terry and his companion Lisa will show us the ropes.
Now, the goal is to put the right amount of sail up. I probably today, knowing that the further up we go, the windier it's going to get, I will single reef the mainsail.
It was the perfect day out. The wind was just right, and the captain made sure we understood how this water warrior worked.
More sail doesn't mean that the boat's going to go faster and faster and faster. Every boat has a hull speed.
So as long as the boat didn't flip over, I knew the trip would be good. Captain, though, had some pretty interesting journeys of his own that once you get to know him, he might share with you.
Because we spent 6 days in Cuba accidentally, and we caught dolphin fish on the way back on that ride, and it was one of those things that was kind of cool because we needed food. But we've done 1,000 and this is 1,211, I think, charters. 4,000 or 5,000 people, 10 years.
Wow.
So that's a lot of salt plant, Hector Falls, and Painted Rocks.
In 10 years, not one reporter or anchor has taken the time to walk through history with the Battle of Newtown reenactors. My trusty tripod was left in the dust as I traveled through time, experiencing the rush of what it felt like to fight in 1779. Continental forces led by Major General John Sullivan defeat a combined force of Loyalists and Indians. The American Revolution comes to life every summer. I challenge you this half hour to not just watch the stories go by on your screen, but to truly understand where your roots of your community come from. Because one day, someone will be studying the history that you make.
Ready? Present! Well done, boys. Prime and load. First rank to the front. Go, boys! Sweep up, Barry. Sweep up in front of the ring.
A well-trained soldier could load about 3 to 4 times a minute, so it's not very fast. And most of the time they were only issued about 60 rounds per soldier, so it's not like today's modern armies.
And of course, Paul had to teach me how to use that big old musket.
So on command, they would handle their arms, and they would prime and load. Prime, they'd open the frizzen, they'd bite the cartridge, they'd pour powder into the pan, they would cast it about, put the rest of the powder into the barrel along with the ball. At that time, that's the ball. They would then ram the ball home until it was on the bottom. They would replace the rammer. They would bring it back to this position here, and on command they would make ready, which was to cock it. They would take aim, which was to aim it.
Oh boy.
And then they would fire it.
That's great. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. It's quite a process though. It's pretty long. Jeez.
It is.
That must be why they only gave you 60 bullets.
And when I finally got my own hands on the musket, let's just say I was very nervous, but had a lot of fun.
Now, it's time to shoot and fire.
We don't touch a lot on history anymore in schools. It's something that most people will never see unless they actually go and attend one and look and listen. One of the things that sets our event a little bit aside from others is that the original battle took place in the woods. Our skirmishes and stuff will take place in the woods as well.
We're gonna fire, and you're gonna go when you fire about 20 yards. Stop again, prime and load, independent fire, keep them moving.
You're actually part of it.
Well, that does it for the Top 10 Countdown. I want to thank all of my viewers who tune in every week to learn and experience more about the place they call home. It's been an honor to be part of your lives this past year. And don't worry, 2015, I hear, is full of adventure. And what are we doing here? By the way, what are we doing here? Jim, I called Jim. I was like, Jim, where do you want to do your interview? He's like, let's do it in the river. We're going to sit in the river. I was like, okay, so tell me a little bit about this new activity that you have as well.
Well, there's lots of places to do it. As you see,